Could the Tennessee Volunteers be the next big Illini rivals? Locked on Illini. Let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another Monday edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you daily, that's right, every single day, coverage of the beloved. I ask for nothing in return. The show is absolutely free. Only thing I ask is if you can hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, as I'm trying to hit my goal of hitting 5,000 subs on YouTube by the opening kickoff. First, before I start the episode, I just wanted to say a special thank you. On Friday was my 1-year anniversary, and I can't tell you the amount of feedback and comments I got, whether it's through social media, DMs, and even my email. You can email me at talkillini@gmail.com. It was humbling. It was flattering to hear just how many of you out there I get to join for your morning commutes to work and whatnot. And just know that this is just something where I truly understand how lucky I am to have this position. And so to be able to have this conversation with the community, I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate each and every one of you. Another person I absolutely appreciate that's Brad Underwood. And there was news last week. I didn't get to it because, well, there's just so much Illini content going on. But John Rothstein of CBS Sports reported that Illinois and Tennessee are extending their non-conference series for at least another 2 years. That's going to mean we're going to see the Illini face off against the Volunteers this year. It was marked as December 6th at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, somewhat of a neutral site. And then the following year, the series is going to shift to Chicago, where they'll play at the United Center. And it's obviously it's not a home-and-home series, which, quite honestly, I would have preferred. To me, I don't understand the point. If you're going to have the game in Nashville, just have it at Tennessee. If you're going to have the game in Illinois at the United Center, just have it at the State Farm Center. One of my favorite things about college basketball is the difference in the crowds and the passion. And I'm telling you, I had the Tennessee game circled last season, and you saw the atmosphere at the State Farm Center. I know a bunch of you were at the game, and you told me afterwards just how chaotic and full of energy that crowd was. And so for me, it's like when you have marquee matchups like this, keep them at home. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. At least that's my opinion. But regardless, we have two high-profile, high-stakes showdowns between two of the country's premier programs. Now, Illinois fans remember the heartbreak. 2 straight losses now to Tennessee. In 2023, Illinois lost 86-79. And last year, we all remember it was a 2-point loss, which was just simply Kasparas Jakushonis not covering the inbound, and Tennessee rolled the entire court for a game-winning layup as time ran out. Having that win, who knows what that could have done for the Illini, at least with their resume. But, it's not something that you can go back in time for. All you can do is try to avenge and return the favor in the future. Brad Underwood, he hasn't forgotten those losses. They certainly were not blowouts. There were games that came down to a handful of possessions, and Illinois absolutely could have won both. And now, this year, with an older team and pretty sky-high expectations, maybe, just maybe, they do plan on returning the favor to Tennessee and avenging the losses from the last 2 years. Why does this series matter so much? I think there's a couple of reasons. First off, we know Tennessee is no slouch. Under Rick Barnes, they've made 5 straight NCAA tournaments and just wrapped up back-to-back Elite 8 appearances. They were a consistent top 10, sometimes even top 5 team in the AP, and are projected by the Bart Torvik as a top 15 team again next year, despite losing a lot of their top scorers. And then you have Brad Underwood on the other side, who over the last 6 seasons has quietly made a case for being the greatest Illini basketball coach in history? Now, that's the topic that I'm going to cover a little bit later because that discussion's been going on a lot. I want to hear your thoughts on that. But what we know about Brad Underwood is like he's not going to duck anybody. He's not looking for bye games. He's not looking for those cupcake games. Even for next year, even though we don't have a full schedule, we do know that Illinois already is going to be playing Alabama, Missouri, and now Tennessee. Brad has always said he wants the toughest non-conference schedule in the country. Why? Because it battle tests his squad for the tough Big Ten Conference. It can build your NCAA tournament resume, and it puts Illinois in the national conversation before the ball even tips off in March. Keep in mind that game between Illinois and Arkansas was, I believe, the highest rated game of the season, especially when it comes to two teams that weren't conference rivals. But as I said, next year, Illinois has Alabama, Missouri, and now Tennessee and Nashville. That's 3 SEC opponents, all projected to be quad one opportunities. And that just shows you once again that Brad really does believe in this team. And it's a big reason why Illinois is viewed as a real contender heading into next season. This Tennessee series is just the latest example of how far Illinois basketball is coming. These aren't just games. At this point, and the ultimate reason I like this series so much, and I wouldn't be too upset if they didn't continue extending this, was it's almost a litmus test, right? That we're talking about early season matchups that could shape seeding in March. Let's not forget, both teams are going to look very different. Tennessee's losing a ton. Chaz Lanier's gone, Ziegler's gone, Gainey's gone. And meanwhile, Illinois is kind of reloading with a veteran squad that includes Tommy Visic, Kylan Boswell, but it also has a new influx of European talent. The pieces are there. The schedule is loaded. The expectations are sky high. And this Tennessee matchup is going to be one of the first major checkpoints to see where this team stands. And this is why ultimately I wouldn't mind if this, what's now become a 4-year series, becomes a 6-year series or an 8-year series. As long as Rick Barnes is in charge of Tennessee and Brad Underwood is in charge of Illinois, I think there's a lot of reasons this rivalry simply makes sense. Not only are they just different shades of orange, but Rick Barnes is considered a top 20 coach in the country. Brad Underwood is considered a top 20 coach in the country. Their biggest detractors will tell you they can win games in the regular season, but they tend to struggle when the games matter in March. Again, they're on a very similar level. And that says a lot about Tennessee and Illinois. Both programs are on a very similar level. Neither is going to be considered a blue blood. Both obviously have things to continue to prove in the future. But as I mentioned before, Illinois is a great litmus test for Tennessee and vice versa. It's a good idea to figure out exactly where you are at when it comes to talent. You know, you're not going to get blown out by 40 points like you are against a team like Duke. It's Tennessee is going to be a top 15, top 20 team in the country next year, maybe even higher. So how do you compete at that level? Last year, I was very impressed by the game that Illinois did have against Tennessee at home. Again, the heartbreaker where they lost at the last second. But that, if nothing else, proved to me that Illinois was going to be a team to be reckoned with in March. And who knows, I talked about this potentially becoming a rivalry. We had the offseason news about Luke Altmaier potentially transferring to the Tennessee Volunteers. A lot of prominent Tennessee Volunteer insiders were very much hinting that Luke was in the picture and that it was just a matter of time before it could be done. Obviously, ultimately, it did not happen, for which Illini fans are absolutely very grateful. But during that discourse, there was a lot of Illini and Tennessee Volunteer Twitter back and forth. And, you got to see some of those fan bases and what makes them so passionate. That's me trying to be as polite as possible when I try to describe those two fan bases. So, the more they see of each other, the more, who knows, this could be maybe down the road. Tennessee's not too far from Illinois. This could possibly be another rivalry that Illinois can start building towards the future. And me personally, I love rivalries. That's what makes college basketball different than the pro sports for me. Let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this new schedule? Do you like Brad's strategy of making things as tough as possible to get his team ready for the Big Ten schedule and for the March schedule? Or would you prefer a couple more cupcakes thrown in there and having 24 or 25 wins in the regular season? I'm very curious on your thoughts. Let me know. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. If you're looking to join a Discord that has over 300 Illini fans in it, just click the link in the description here. We have conversations going on every single day whenever there's some sort of air quotes insider information that I'm not allowed to share on this show. There's a bulletin board both for football and basketball right there in the Discord where you can probably hear things a little earlier than I'm allowed to say here. So if that's something you're interested in, please join our community. Next up is an article that was brought to my attention by JR, guest of the show, from the Big Ten Huddle, where he showed me an ESPN article that has Illinois not just having a good offseason, but a great offseason. We're talking about the third best offseason in the entire Big Ten Conference. In the article, they talk about what went right, what went wrong, and just some of the additions and subtractions on the team as Bret Bielema tries to have back-to-back, and I can't believe I'm saying this, back-to-back double-digit win season. So I'll try to summarize it somewhat. What went right is a pretty long list. They talk about, but the biggest win of the offseason, and I think most people will agree, is the continuity. Bret retained almost every key player and primary assistant coach after the Illini's best season since 2007. And that's no small feat in today's NIL world. And that's no small feat in today's college football landscape, especially for a school like Illinois, where when a school like Illinois usually tastes success, that's when the big boys come calling and try to woo coaches and woo players over. But it just shows you just how much Bret Bielema is respected, not just by the players on the field, but by the coaches who are learning from him. They know that getting a mentorship from a guy like Bret can go a long ways towards their own college football future. It mentioned the name of Luke Altmaier, who, as I mentioned in the last segment, was highly sought after, very aggressively, I might add, by the Tennessee Volunteers. But Luke ultimately decided to stay in Champaign. He had offensive tackle J.C. Davis, who could have gone to the NFL, as well as Gabe Yakas, and safety Xavier Scott. That core alone is going to give Illinois one of the more experienced rosters in the Big Ten. And even better, Illinois brings back all 5 starters on the offensive line. And that's not just a fun fact. It might be the single biggest reason why the offense could take another leap in 2025. This is the best offensive line Bret Bielema has had since arriving Champaign, and it's not even close. Add to the fact that Illinois is in the top 5 in the country in returning production, and you start to see why some of the national media and Vegas are slowly warming up to the idea that Illinois is not just a feel-good story. They might just be a real contender. But it's not to say Illinois had a perfect offseason. They did mention that The biggest offseason loss was one that happened very late in the process, and that's Josh McCray, running back, who I think Illinois was definitely counting on to be one of the main guys out of that running backs room, decided to transfer out. And we all know he ended up transferring to the Georgia Bulldogs. And yeah, that certainly did strain. Fortunately, Illinois does have depth in the backfield. Aiden Lawfrey and Caden Fagan both showed flashes and both look like they can be very solid Big Ten starters. And there's optimism that with their ability, they can maybe even jump up another level. But let's not just sit here and pretend that losing McCray is going to be easy. The other concern is wide receiver. While I like some of the guys that they've brought in, they've lost two of their most productive wide receivers, and Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin. And those are two extremely big shoes to fill. That's going to be a position that certainly is going to be something to keep an eye on as we get closer to camp. Some of the names they did end up bringing in: wide receiver Hudson Clement, very intriguing. He caught 11 touchdowns in his first full season of action at West Virginia, and he might be a red zone threat. I've said this before on the show. I usually like to grade my transfer, the incoming players, by how upset their fan base is that they lost that said player. And I'll tell you, the Mountaineers fans were very hurt when Clement decided to leave West Virginia and come to Illinois. So I just think that's a good sign for Illinois. Justin Bowick adds depth as a shifty playmaker. And on defense, Illinois pulls in former Wisconsin standouts James Thompson Jr., a disruptive force on the interior line who brings size and strength right away. But it's not just on the field where Brett Bielema continued to accumulate talent. Bielema also brought in Mike New, former Ball State head coach, as a senior offensive assistant, and that's a guy with head coaching experience, joining the support staff. He also added former player, former Badger, James White. Yes, that James White, the longtime Patriots running back who played for Bielema at Wisconsin. White's now helping coach the running backs alongside Thad Ward. That's a pretty nice combination of experience and NFL pedigree in the running back room. Illinois is also building for the long haul. I'll just wrap up the article by giving ESPN Bill Connolly's take on Illinois' outlook. He said, last year's 5-1 record and one-score finishes is going to be hard to match, but the Illini rank in the top 5 in returning production and held on to both coordinators after last year's delightful run. Almost no one enjoys better continuity in 2025. That's right there, right? Continuity. That's the theme for Illinois football over the last couple of years, and that's kind of what I chuckle about. Between our basketball and our football programs, you really can't have two bigger polar opposites. Now, again, both basketball and football are proving to be very successful when it comes to their regular seasons and playing the actual games, but the way they come to that success has been completely different routes. One of my favorite stories over the last few years has always been chuckling at the University of Iowa, right? Where they had the all offense, no defense when it comes to the basketball court. And when it comes to football, Kirk Ferentz had literally the opposite. It was basically a football team that won 8, 9, 10 games every year, all because of their defense. And they'd continue to have one of the worst offenses in the entire country. Illinois is similar in the aspect of just the way they build teams. The continuity with Brett Bielema, with football, is bringing every player back. Every player wants to come back, and Brett Bielema wants all these guys back. When it comes to basketball, Brett Underwood had to replace 10 guys just 2 seasons ago. This past season, it's gotten a little bit better, but still we have, I think, 5 or 6 new players that are going to be playing very key roles on the team next season. But it's one of those where it just shows you that there's more than one way to make things work. And it just shows you that Illinois should be very grateful that they have 2 minds that are just brilliant at what they do and that they know what they're doing. Because I've said this before, in the past, Illinois was lucky to have even one head coach who knew what they were doing. And right now, we have 2. Repeat after me. It's a great time to be an Illini. And before I let you guys go today, I did have a couple rounds of congratulations. First off, Illinois baseball is going to be playing in the Big Ten tournament. Despite losing their last game of the season to the Ohio State Buckeyes, Illinois is going to be the 11 seed in this year's tournament. It's going to be facing 7 seed Michigan. This year's Big Ten tournament, guys, it's wacky and wonky, and I don't know how any of this makes sense. The Big Ten tournament is made up of 4 3-team pools, with the winners of each pool playing in a bracket-style series of games for the conference title. Now I'm going to put a link of the graphics of what this bracket looks like. And please, I'm begging you, if you can make sense of this for me, please do so. Look, I know I'm not a huge college baseball guy, but it simply just does not make sense. Essentially, a team can lose their first game and still be required to play a game on another day, despite their season already being over and them not being able to move on. Please, somebody make sense out of that for me. But regardless, again, I just want to congratulate Illinois baseball. They finished 29-23 overall and 14-16 in Big Ten play. Hopefully, they have a strong showing in this Big Ten tournament. Also, I wanted to wish a special congratulations to Ben Hummerkaus and Keaton Kutcher. They graduated and got their degrees from the University of Illinois this past week, and as did many of you. So again, I'm not just congratulating Ben and Keaton. Look, I know we follow sports for the most part on this channel. That's why you guys are tuning in, to keep up to date with Illini athletics. But overall, remember, these are kids, and this was a part of a lot of our lives where some of us did or did not get our degrees, and some of us did or did not get them from the University of Illinois. But when you choose to put on that orange and blue, you basically dedicated yourself to the university, and to follow through with that and actually take care of the academic portion as well as the athletic side. I always feel like I want to do my best, at least on this show, to give you your flowers. It's not easy to be able to graduate from a university as prestigious as the University of Illinois. That takes a lot of hard work. That takes a lot of dedication. And Ben Hummerkaus and Keaton Kutcher, they deserve to get their praise just as loudly for what they did off the courts as they did on the court. That'll just about wrap it up for today's edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making us your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith, frequent guest of Locked On Illini, has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Again, we've got content all week. Nazir Rankin's going to be announcing on Wednesday. So on Tuesday's episode, I'm going to be letting you know exactly how good I'm feeling about whether Nazir ends up committing to Illinois on Wednesday. Again, I always appreciate your support. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.